This is Taya Graham reporting for the Real News Network in Baltimore City, Maryland. A mother fights to protect her son from an off-duty cop who pulled a gun on him. And this is how the city responded. This is a video of a confrontation between an off-duty Baltimore cop who pulled a gun on an unarmed teen without saying he was an officer, and the mother of the juvenile whose life he threatened.
It's like black men are being hunted. And so had my son died, they would have dug up any information they could have found to speak to why he would have caused his own death.
The conflict happened shortly after Baltimore City police officer Damon Durant confronted the teen who was waiting for a bus.
When he told me he was going to go call the police, I told him, I don't care, go ahead. I'd rather you do that than you take mine as a team. I don't have it. Then when he stepped over there, then it escalated.
The officer said nothing about being a cop and told a judge later during a peace order hearing he pulled his gun because the juvenile, Jawan, looked like trouble. But the teen's mother, Erica Hamlett, stepped in and refused to back down from the gun-wielding officer.
No, talk. You claim you know the story. You tell him the story. You the cop.
So I know that if he would have killed my son, he would have told the story that my son was aggressive and he forced his hand to kill him.
And that's what they do to other victims, right?
Yeah.
What did they do?
After they killed them, they make them the perpetrator.
Waiting until Howard County Police disarmed him. It's a near-deadly encounter that might have been ignored by a police department that has spawned numerous corruption scandals and is currently under federal consent decree. But this is a story about a mother who refused to let that happen.
This particular police officer broke somebody's jaw a few years ago. The city paid out a large settlement to the suspect. And then here is this incident that occurred with my son. So to me, it makes the officer feel like I can do what I want with no accountability. And then it makes citizens like myself and my child feel like officers are never held accountable for the things that they do, so why even speak up?
And it's a tale about the power and necessity of civilian oversight. Because it was Hamlet's determination to hold the officer accountable that has resulted in a rare outcome: internal charges against the officer. In this letter, sent after we first reported her story, the police department says the evidence was sufficient to charge Officer Durant internally. It's a small victory for Hamlet and her son that did not come easy.
Oh, when they laughed and said, we heard about this, at least he didn't die. And then the things that, the way the conversations would go when the detective from Internal Affairs would call me on the phone made me feel like this is just, it's really an unsafe process.
In fact, her tale of the pushback by police at every step of the process belies the promises made by city officials after the city entered a consent decree with the Department of Justice.
I had a sit-down conversation. I have an older child, my daughter. She's 26. I had a sit-down conversation with her and her spouse and my mother and my son and my stepkids about keep your registration in the car on hand, keep your driver's license out, put your hands on the wheel if you're pulled over, because we don't know to what extent this will go.
And as Hamlet explains, the outcome of that process will never be made public.
And that can mean anything, because that's the part that the public doesn't have privy to. We won't know what that is, how they decided to hold him accountable or how they decided to punish him.
Do you think that's fair?
No, it's not fair.
Why not?
Because I wasn't told after the incident happened whether he was still currently on the street and involved in active duty. When I look online, I can see that he is still involved in active cases on the beat, on the street, still working as a regular police officer.
It's a flaw in the system that even city officials admit keeps police misdeeds secret and the public that they serve in the dark.
Nobody ever finds out about the outcome of a trial board. Imagine you happen to be in City Hall one day and there's a trial board going on the second floor. And you happen to just wander into the room and you see this proceeding going forward, some kind of hearing. You won't know who it is. You won't know what the charges are. You have to sit there for the entire hearing and listen carefully, because if they don't mention the officer's name during the proceedings, if they use a term like respondent or the officer or the accused, you'll never find out what the officer's name is.
We asked the police department to learn if Durant had been suspended, but we have not heard back. We also reached out to his lawyer, who did not respond. For now, Hamlet says she will continue to fight, in part because of how close her son came to joining the ranks of unarmed black men shot and killed by police.
My son could be a Mike Brown. And they'll go back and they'll dig up anything they could possibly find and support the story to make the officer right.
She also feels compelled to try to reform the process that allowed police to sully her character and her son's after they filed a complaint. It's a struggle she says must succeed to ensure that African American men and the people who care about them can live in peace.
Everybody would say, "We heard your story," or "We heard about your son." And that seems to be the only reason why I got the kind of responses that I got, was because I just wouldn't shut up.
This is Taya Graham and Stephen Janis reporting for the Real News Network in Baltimore City, Maryland.